Hi, this is Jan. I'm speaking to every one of you, my subscribers. I know you now feel like the world is totally fucked, and I understand you very well. It's very easy to think that way, and much harder to keep dreaming and wondering. We've been preparing this video for quite a long time, which we filmed before COVID, which is why we're not wearing masks. But we're willing to show you something we got impressed with. A sphere where thousands of people perform their work very responsibly, where nations have finally learned to be friends, and even the birds are watching out for your safety. Yes, nowadays our lives have seen serious changes, which also led to changes in the airline industry. The crew is tested before every flight. Both pilots and stewardesses now wear masks. People in special suits disinfect the entire cabin, especially those places you touch most often: luggage shelves, folding tables, and armrests. And you can show your boarding pass on your phone without having to give it to anyone else. Our cozy world, with open borders and comfortable unlimited travel, will definitely come back, and traveling will excite us again and again. But I suggest you dive into that world right now. And please, take care and never stop dreaming. Spring water. Seems to be true. It's pure drinkable water. Every airport is provided with potable water. You didn't know it, but you can drink it. It comes from a well and goes through the deepest purification. It is very good water. Yup. Jan. The airport is a world of sterility and comfort. The business lounge recognizes you by sight. The scoreboard tells you the right flight. There, on the runway, people take off once every 5 minutes. And they take off and land despite Mercury retrograde, low visibility, and political news. These people around me in half an hour will sit in their Boeings and Airbuses watching A Handmaid's Tale and waiting to land and applaud the pilots. All they need is to take off, take a couple of pictures near the plane window, and wait for the landing gear to touch the ground so they can applaud the pilots and be the first to get their luggage. So easy, right? Actually, no, it's not. To make it work as easily and quickly, hundreds of people and even a few birds do their jobs with minute precision. The flight procedure has been honed for 120 years, thanks to which the flight itself is much safer than the road to the airport. Now you'll learn why there's an ashtray in the lavatory cubicle, how to act if you run out of fuel and all engines fail at once, what's the strength limit of airplane wings, how do pilots make you applaud, and why do they have 3 weathers at once? What happens to an airplane when it gets struck with lightning, and why is there always an invisible man flying with you? This is the most detailed video about aviation on YouTube. I propose to start it without the intro. I have 45 minutes to finish my croissant and drink my coffee, and use the bathroom for the road. This is precisely the same amount of time the service staff has to prepare a plane for 160 persons. It's like a pit stop in Formula 1, only by plane. Inspection, cross-check, tasks on the tablet. The refueling is coming up to the plane by itself, 26,000 liters of kerosene, and let's go. Passengers need water and paper, as well as clean seats. This ghost hunter's interest is not ghosts, but crumbs and bags. The cabin has to be like for sale. Vegetarian set, meat set, tomato juice, coffee. A laser directs the luggage to the right aircraft. And finally, the gangway helps those who wait become those who fly. Here it is, the plane, ready to fly. This flying Kiwi will take 160 people. 4,000 miles, along with their luggage, skis, and cats. You probably wonder where it was made. In France? In Germany? In Russia? The answer is everywhere at once. The cabin is from France. The fuselage, tail, and spoilers are from Hamburg, Germany. The stabilizers are from Spain, and the wings are from Great Britain. The engines were built with the whole world's efforts, and titanium came from Russia. Without these, a plane just couldn't fly. You've all seen these engines, but the principle of their work is unknown to most of you. What's really striking is its void. Just look at this. The turbofan engine. Well, it has a turbine and a fan. A lot of people think that the airplane is pushed by a jet stream from behind that leaves white trails. Yes, it does push, but it only gives 10% thrust. In fact, it's much more interesting. What pulls the airplane is this fan in the front. The fan sucks the air. It gets compressed by a compressor. Then the combustion chamber gets it mixed with fuel and ignites it. The gases forcefully spin the turbine, while it spins the fan like a mill. Everything goes in a circle. Like the samsara wheel, the turbine spins the fan, and the fan feeds it with oxygen. You see? And at the same time, gets pushed off from the air, feeding it oxygen and pushing it off from the air. That's the process. With exactly the same force, the air pushes anyone who decides to sneak up on the turbine from behind. When the engines are running, the runway should be empty. But how do you explain that to the birds? That's another bird's responsibility, a more respectable one, the goshawk. It's launched out of hand by ornithologists, the bird specialists whose job is not to love the birds, but to get rid of them. They have a bunch of options for this. Speakers screaming carnivores, firecrackers placed on airport grounds, or the hawks catching other birds to inform them that it's dangerous to be on the runway. Be careful, please. There you go. Yes, thank you. As you sleep in your seat, the plane is rubbing against the air at 500 miles per hour. Imagine your body rubbing against a wool sweater at 500 miles per hour. Do you realize how much static electricity is generated? You relieve static electricity when you go to touch your friend, and the airplane uses these dischargers. It's like anti-static chains behind the trolley buses, but they relieve their electricity not into the ground, but directly into the sky. Pilots stay away from storm clouds and lightning, just like you stay away from promoters spreading brochures. But if they do face lightning or clouds, well, in that case, then nothing bad will happen. Neither, however, in case you face those promoters. On average, every plane once a year is struck by lightning. But there's no reason to worry, because they're aluminum and effectively conduct electricity. Lightning slips along their hull and passes on without going inside. The same effect works with a Faraday cage, where you can survive under the discharges of hundreds of thousands of volts. Here, all the current flows past the person. It's the same with an airplane, but only if you're on the inside of it. So let's go. Hello, good afternoon. Your boarding pass, please. Here it is. Thank you. Enjoy your flight. Thank you. The flight attendant smiles at you and asks to see your boarding pass. This is strange because you've already shown it. Thing is, she's not interested in your pass, but in you. This is called profiling. Your facial expressions, gestures, the way you communicate and greet, and of course, the size of your pupils are closely examined by real psychologists. Their task is to find out which of the 160 people can be dangerous, to expose a troublemaker, and to take off of the flight those who are drunk or high. Moreover, they know how to calm children, rescue drowning people, do indirect heart massage, and even deliver babies right on board. Now you understand that a flight attendant isn't a waiter, a psychologist, an educator, or a lifeguard. It's all in one. Would you like some wine? White or red? Business class. These seem to be the best seats on the plane. But actually they're not. The best seats in the cabin are in economy class. Here, in the middle of the cabin, right above the wing. And it's not because of the extra space and the leg room, though, of course, it's comfortable too. But the real reason is less turbulence. The plane leans on the wings and uses them to climb to the air. It looks like a stick with support in the middle. When there's turbulence, the front and the back parts shake much more than the middle part. Also, if you were given these seats, I congratulate you. Yeah, it means you're strong and mature enough to open the emergency exit and help the passengers in case of emergency. Don't be afraid of such responsibility. It's not hard. You pull the handle, take a step forward, and you're safe. The main thing is to follow the flight attendant's commands. It's cool to try it in training, but the chance of riding this slide in reality is 1 in a million. Time to buckle up and put your phone in airplane mode in order to take off? No. It has no impact on the plane's instruments. Rather, it's to keep you focused and looking at the flight attendant, reminding you that first you should provide oxygen to yourself, and only then to others. Good advice. That'll be useful in life. It's negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit outside, like at the South Pole. At this time, the air currents are carrying the plane like the ocean carries a ship. Yes, the air similar to the ocean has its storms and currents. And all these make things more complicated. After all, the weather below is not the same as above. These are the winds on the ground. Everything is quiet and calm. And these are the winds at the 6-mile altitude. Above the Atlantic, there's even its own Gulf Stream, only in the sky. Recently, a plane covered a distance from New York to London in less than 5 hours. That's a record. And it's all down to Storm Kiara. The plane tagged along with it and got 250 miles more speed than usual. It turns out, planes are similar to skaters that cling to cars. By the way, sitting in these seats, you may also observe something frightening. The wing is moving up and down like it's about to come off. Actually, it's not. What's more, it's designed that way. The aluminum is flexible, it can bend a lot without breaking, and that's not the limit. This is the limit. That's what's really scary. It's like stretching in a yoga class with an amplitude of 16 feet. A couple more strokes will make it fly away, scaring all the birds. So the airplane is designed for much more serious overloads. It doesn't care about turbulence. But what it cares about is the ashtray. But why is it so if smoking is forbidden in airplanes since 2000? Vapes, IQOS, no way. Everything is forbidden. Maybe it's a reminder of the golden era of aviation, when gentlemen in suits smoked cigarettes and sipped whiskey during the flight. Even the pilots back then didn't mind having a cigarette. Nope, I'll tell it like it is, okay? Honestly, it's protection from assholes. If somebody wants to smoke quietly, the smoke detector will go off, and the crew will knock and ask you something. Got some smokes, man? The smoker will be frightened and at least throw the cigarette butt into an ashtray instead of the paper towel trash. Today, the ashtray has become almost useless, and people sometimes use it to leave coins for people from other countries. So we have kind of an international stash. This plane has 2 engines, but it can fly without one of them. But can it fly without engines at all? One famous incident showed that yes. In 1983, a Canadian plane was filled with 22,000 pounds of kerosene instead of 22,000 kilograms. That's half as much. At an altitude of 7 miles, the engines shut down, the power switched off, and the instruments went out. The plane threw out a backup turbine and began to extract electricity literally out of thin air. The pilots had to make a decision on their own and do it quickly. Fortunately, the plane doesn't lose its aerodynamics and continues to fly, descending slowly. This way it can cover 95 or even 125 miles, which is normal. The main thing is finding a place to land. Captain Robert Pearson remembered that halfway there was a small military airport, Gimli, and realized that the speed would only be enough to reach it. Except he didn't know that Gimli had long ago been turned into a racetrack, and right about that time, there was a race on it. Fortunately, the former runway had been converted to drag racing, that is, racing 2 cars in a straight line, which meant it was practically empty. The plane descended, touched down hard on the runway. The front landing gear strut folded, and the plane scratched on its belly all the way until the full stop. In the end, none of the passengers or spectators were hurt. The captain was rewarded. And such situations never happened again. Now I realize that pilots are super people. To be honest, I admire you, but I've got a thorny question that really haunts me. Can pilots, when flying a plane, go out to pee? Yes. Thanks for this exciting interview. But still, he seems to hide something. But seriously, it's not that simple. If someone needs to get out of the cabin, then he has to invite the chief flight attendant to control the work of the crew members in the cockpit, so that nobody falls asleep or gets locked alone in the cockpit. Exactly. So everyone hedges each other. Okay, could I enter into the cockpit during the flight? No. If you thought that we were flying, I'm very glad, really. In fact, we're standing with no passengers at the airport. To get here, we went through a bunch of checks and got a pass. So don't be afraid that one day you'll find me flying your plane. The flights are controlled only by professionals. Although, if you wake me up here, then I'm gonna think that I'm really flying. Because this is a real cockpit, only hanging from hydraulic supports. It won't take off or shake this building thanks to the 10-foot concrete footing. For comparison, a 1,500 feet high radio tower has 15 feet of concrete underneath. This is the most expensive flight simulator in the world. Forget everything you know about flight simulators. Everything you feel here, you feel in a real aircraft. Jolting, shaking, and even the muscle tension down under is the same. There's only, one difference. There's no ear fluttering, and nobody claps their hands. Boris, is the map you use bigger than GTA? Much bigger. Bigger, huh? The whole world. Full coverage. Full world. That's a lot of drawing to do, for those 3D artists. The data is automatically pulled up from the space satellites. Those terrain maps we have, they're reproduced by the simulators from the database. Oh, really? That's the way it works. During your flight, there's always a person invisible to you, the air traffic controller. He passes your plane to the other controllers, like ping pong, just one at a time. They fly with you at all times, even if you're flying in the Pacific Ocean. If you don't see where you are, controllers always do. The local controller controls takeoff. The approach controller allows the plane to maneuver among a dozen others. And finally, the area controller keeps the entire area under control. As to the landing, it's the same, but in reverse order. Each aircraft flies in its own comfort zone, and the other planes aren't allowed to enter. If one plane gets in another plane's zone, the system tells one plane to fly higher and the other to fly lower, and the pilots have to obey. Look, flying right here, I can honestly say that what I see is that planes are coming out of nowhere. They're just like, and I'm like, whoa, I can't stop watching, I'm hypnotized. And so, it's dangerous. You might get caught up in illusions. The landing gear's retracted. We're doing a U-turn. Actually, not really doing, actually just commanding to do it. I've always been afraid of this kind of turn, by the way. The plane is designed for that. It won't let you make a roll more than what it can handle. What if we try it? Let's try. Oh, the plane itself doesn't let you make it. Yes. Great, that's... Wow, just look at this roll, guys. Guys, this is really scary. Oh my god. We have to level off, because I'm sweating already. The old planes possessed a lot of hydraulic tubes. Pilots had to push the fluid into them with their hands to make the tubes press on the flaps. It resulted in the plane turning left, but at the same time losing altitude. The pilot had to pull the steering wheel to the left and towards himself. Then he had to push on the accelerator not to lose altitude. The A320 has no steering wheel, just a side stick. All the heavy mechanics are taken out and replaced by electronics. The pilot tells the flight computer what to do, and it makes the right maneuver by itself. The computer's aware of the loss of altitude, so it adds thrust and raises the nose of the aircraft itself. The pilot's in command. He doesn't think about details, but if he's close to making a mistake, the computer tries to prevent it. And then the pilot hears this. Oh my god. Oh my god! And what happens to the passengers in the tail in the meantime? They're throwing up. They're probably just pinned to the ceiling. As you can see, the computer always signals danger and prevents you from making a mistake. Plus, there's always a second co-pilot sitting in my place, who's backing up the first co-pilot. And if the computer fails, the plane activates its backup system. And if it fails too, then it would be the pilots who back up this system. Basically, everyone backs up each other. Yes, the system doesn't cheat. The one who cheats all the time is the brain. As you look out the plane windows, you see all this familiar stuff, objects moving relative to the background, like in a children's theater. Pilots, on the other hand, have tunnel vision. They look straight ahead and see the skyline, which isn't getting closer. It hangs in one place. So you don't know whether you're flying at 250 or 650 miles per hour. It's like you're hovering in the sky. That's why pilots are specially taught to move with their eyes in the English letter Z. The drivers usually cope with the tunnel effect with the help of different objects on the ground. It can be the median strip, poles, or cars nearby. Pilots don't have such objects. They have the constant risk to be caught in illusion. But what about turbulence? Pilots don't react to turbulence at all because, to them, it's like bumps in the road. Bumps in the road. Pilots have a secret. If you want applause, you have to slap the plane on the runway. And then everyone's like, oh, thank God we've landed. But if you land softly, no one claps. To passengers, a hard landing is a bad sign, while in fact, a hard landing actually means good traction on the road. Well, it's time for us to land. Boris, turn on the snow, fog, and thunderstorm, please. I want to get through this game with maximum difficulty. Where are you going? Oh my god, what the hell is that? Oh, snow. What do pilots usually do? Try to get around this off-roading? What can we do? There's nothing you can do. How about going around the other side? There's a gorge on that side. Oh, I see. We could go higher, for instance. Oh, listen, guys. My palms are actually sweating. The turbulence on this landing is really insane. So what do I do? Boris, give me a hint. It's okay. A little higher. It's all right. A little gas. Whoa, 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 whoa! Are you doing this? Keep the runway. I think that 90% of the work was done by Boris. I didn't do anything. My hands are here. You landed it yourself. Yes. When you're landed, it's time for another pit stop. After all, the team only has 45 minutes for everything, remember? But you shouldn't be in a hurry. There are other people to hurry for you. The landing gear is propped up with pads so that it doesn't roll away. The hull is grounded. The doors are put in the disarmed position, which means switching off the evacuation slide deployment. When you're getting off on the left side, the right side is used for refueling. At this point, your luggage is being picked up and taken to the belt, and the plane is being prepared for another flight. The rules are common for everyone, that is, the pit stop on a flight from New York to New Jersey will be as safe and as clear as from Dubai to Tokyo. Aviation is probably the only industry where everyone succeeded in agreeing with each other. Meanwhile, in one country, people drive on the right, and in another, on the left. The train vehicles on some borders have to be moved from wide track to narrow track. Even the ISS is divided into segments, and some still argue about the equality of efforts put into this object, but 250 miles below the sky is the same for everyone. States do not compare their ultrasonic Concords anymore. The race in passenger aviation has come to an end. It's time for common standards, fuel-efficient and eco-friendly planes, and most importantly, affordable tickets. Phileas Fogg traveled around the world in 80 days. He traveled through Europe by train, got to Bombay by ship, to Calcutta, rode an elephant, crossed the Pacific Ocean by ship, and took the train to the USA and another ship to the Atlantic, until he returned to his native London. Today, an average person flying commercially would need 5 direct flights and only 50 hours to make such a round-the-world trip. At any step of such a journey, everything will go smooth. Pilots are backed up by the automatics. The automatics are backed up by co-pilots. So everybody backs up each other and nobody is left alone in the cockpit. If one hydraulic hose fails, there's always a second one. If the second one fails, there's a third. And if the third one fails, the flaps will release the electric motor. That's why when preparing for the flight in the military transport, we were given a parachute. In that case, something could have really gone wrong. But here you don't need parachutes, because the whole industry has already cared about your safety. People, machines, and even animals make sure everything is safe so you don't shake, don't wobble. You always have something to eat and something to do, and the toilet is always provided with drinking water and toilet paper. Yes, when there's no toilet paper, the plane can't take off. And this entire complicated scheme works while you just sleep in the seat. Your tomato juice, please. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I hate tomato juice. And as always, pump your brains. Bye-bye. Disgusting.